He might have been our father, grandfather, father-in-law, but he meant so much to so many other people. And just being here this morning with everybody from Windsor Great Park, and he was a ranger here for, more years than I think any other ranger.
For decades, the royal family has carefully guarded its secrets, but every so often, a revelation threatens to shake the monarchy to its core. Now, a stunning legal confirmation involving Prince Edward has reignited questions about what King Charles allegedly kept out of reach for years. As whispers turn into headlines, royal watchers are asking whether this inheritance changes everything the public thought they knew. So, what did Edward's lawyers confirm? And why has it left the palace facing uncomfortable questions once again? But why would Prince Edward take control of the Queen's private estate? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. To help us create more videos and uncover the latest royal drama, please subscribe. The Crown's best-kept hidden secret. For decades, there was a royal property so carefully hidden that even many respected historians who devoted their lives to studying the British monarchy had never heard its name. It remained one of the Crown's most closely guarded secrets, quietly existing beyond public knowledge while generations came and went without the slightest clue that it was there. Nestled among the peaceful rolling landscapes of the Chiltern Hills, stretching across Oxfordshire and Buckinghamshire, lies the mysterious Cedar Estate. Unlike the famous royal residences that attract worldwide attention, this estate never appeared on official public lists of royal properties. No newspaper headlines announced its existence. No royal ceremonies introduced it to the nation. For more than 80 years, it remained hidden in plain sight, known only to a small circle of trusted royals, senior advisors, and carefully selected staff who were expected to keep its existence confidential. The story of the estate began in 1944, during the darkest days of the Second World War. With Britain facing constant danger and uncertainty, King George VI quietly purchased the property. It was never intended to be another royal palace or country retreat. Instead, it was designed to remain invisible, a secure refuge where priceless pieces of royal history, deeply personal family records, and sensitive materials could be protected far from public attention and away from the risks of wartime destruction. There were no press releases, no photographers, and no official celebrations marking its acquisition. Its purpose was silence, security, and preservation. Year after year, the estate quietly fulfilled that mission, while the outside world remained completely unaware of what rested behind its gates. Then, in early 2026, everything changed. The veil of secrecy was finally lifted, revealing a breathtaking collection of historical treasures that few could have imagined. Hidden within the estate were private chapels containing memorial vaults dedicated to members of the royal family who had served during times of war. Enormous handcrafted oak chests safeguarded thousands of deeply personal letters, confidential correspondence, and private family documents that had never been displayed to the public. Among the discoveries were stunning portraits of King George VI and Princess Margaret that historians had never seen before, offering rare glimpses into moments of royal life that had remained frozen in time. Yet perhaps the most astonishing revelation was an extraordinary archive of sealed audio recordings featuring Queen Elizabeth II in candid conversations with some of the 20th century's most influential leaders, including Winston Churchill, Nelson Mandela, Ronald Reagan, and Charles de Gaulle. One experienced royal archivist described the Cedar Estate as the raw, unfiltered soul of the monarchy. It was never created as a tourist attraction or public museum. Instead, it served as a living vault of royal memory, a carefully protected collection preserving the private voices, untold stories, and hidden history of the British royal family for generations yet to come. Could Queen Elizabeth really have given the estate to Edward? Are they so close that she would gove him such? Let's take a quick delve into the details of the quiet bond between Elizabeth and Edward that grew stronger with time. The son she trusted most. Prince Edward, the youngest of Queen Elizabeth II's 4 children, is often described as the child who enjoyed one of the strongest and most affectionate relationships with his mother. Many royal experts believe their special connection began from the very day he was born in 1964. At that time, Queen Elizabeth made an unusual decision that broke with long-standing royal custom. She asked her husband, Prince Philip, to be present in the delivery room, something that was almost unheard of for royal births in those days. It was a small but meaningful sign that things were beginning to change within the royal household. Royal biographer Ingrid Seward has written that Edward's birth marked a turning point in the Queen's life as a mother. By then, she had gained years of experience balancing the enormous responsibilities of the crown with raising a family. Unlike her older children, who spent much of their early years under the care of royal nannies while their parents carried out demanding duties, Edward experienced a much more personal and hands-on style of parenting. The Queen reportedly wanted him close whenever possible. On many occasions, she even allowed the young prince to play quietly on the floor of her study while she worked through important government documents, giving him precious time with her despite her packed schedule. As Edward grew into adulthood, that close relationship never seemed to fade. While other members of the royal family often found themselves surrounded by media drama and public controversy, Edward built a very different reputation. He became known as the calm, dependable, and hard-working royal who rarely complained and almost never sought the spotlight. Instead of chasing headlines, he focused on carrying out his duties with quiet dedication and loyalty. Those qualities became even more valuable during the Queen's later years, as the monarchy faced one difficult challenge after another, including Prince Andrew's scandals and the departure of Prince Harry and Meghan from senior royal duties. Edward remained a steady and reassuring presence. Alongside his wife Sophie, he willingly accepted more royal responsibilities, helping to support the crown during one of its most demanding periods. Body language specialists have often pointed to the warmth Queen Elizabeth displayed whenever she was with Edward. They noticed that she appeared especially relaxed, smiled more naturally, and showed genuine affection toward him in public. One expert even remarked that, despite his adulthood, Edward always seemed to remain her baby in her eyes. Such observations have fueled long-standing speculation that he may have been the child she openly cherished the most. The greatest proof of the Queen's confidence in Edward may have been her long-held wish for him to inherit Prince Philip's prestigious title of Duke of Edinburgh. Buckingham Palace later confirmed that this plan had been agreed upon years earlier by Queen Elizabeth, Prince Philip, and the future King Charles. It was far more than a simple transfer of a royal title. It reflected years of trust, unwavering loyalty, and the deep love the late Queen held for her youngest son. Did Queen Elizabeth leave the fate of the estate to chance? How did she resolve its management and ownership? Let's dive into the details of how Queen Elizabeth protected the estate even before her death. Queen Elizabeth's secret legacy: safeguards. Queen Elizabeth never believed that important family treasures should be left to uncertainty or future arguments. Long before her passing, she quietly put careful legal plans in place to make sure some of the royal family's most treasured estates would remain protected for generations. Every document was prepared with great care, leaving very little room for confusion or interference. One of the most remarkable examples was the Cedar Estate. In 2020, the Queen placed it under a private covenant trust rather than allowing it to become part of the usual Crown Estate or the Duchy of Cornwall. This decision gave the property its own unique legal protections and a completely separate set of rules. The trust clearly stated that the estate would pass directly to Prince William, but only after specific conditions had been fulfilled. Those conditions included the Queen's funeral having taken place and William being firmly recognized as the future leader of the monarchy. Nothing about the transfer was accidental. Every step had already been carefully planned years in advance. The same thoughtful approach was used for several other remarkable estates. Northacre Hall, a magnificent historic property rich in royal heritage, received its own carefully prepared instructions. Clarence House Estate, known for its peaceful atmosphere and private surroundings, was also covered by detailed legal arrangements. Greystone Downs, famous for its ancient forests and beautiful countryside, was protected with equal attention. Green Heath, valued for its environmentally protected land and natural beauty, was included as well. Oakridge, perhaps the most personal of them all, carried deep family memories and generations of royal history, making its protection especially important. Each estate came with far more than a simple will. There were legal documents, additional codicils, private notes, and detailed instructions, many of them personally reviewed and even written by the Queen herself. She understood that valuable family properties could become the center of future disagreements, outside business interests, or even pressure from within the family. Rather than leaving those possibilities to chance, she built strong legal safeguards around every estate. These were not ordinary gifts handed down through inheritance. They were carefully protected legacies, supported by layers of legal planning designed to survive changing times and unexpected challenges. Every signature, every clause, and every instruction reflected the Queen's determination to preserve not only the land itself, but also the history, traditions, and values attached to it. In many ways, these estates became far more than pieces of property. They stood as lasting symbols of stability, continuity, and the Queen's lifelong commitment to protecting the future of the monarchy. Through careful planning and remarkable foresight, she transformed them into enduring family strongholds that were meant to withstand both time and turmoil for generations to come. Why did Prince Edward minimal opposition in the royal family? What role does he play therein? Let's dig into the details of Prince Edward's quiet life out of spotlights. Prince Edward's quiet legacy of service. For much of his life, Prince Edward, Duke of Edinburgh, has stayed away from the headlines. Unlike some members of the royal family who often attract public attention, Edward has built a reputation through quiet dedication rather than grand public appearances. Over the years, he has become one of the monarchy's most dependable figures, proving that lasting influence is often built through steady commitment instead of constant publicity. His journey has been shaped by loyalty, responsibility, and an unwavering determination to serve the crown. Edward's path to becoming a senior working royal was far from ordinary. Before fully embracing royal life, he explored careers in theater and television, gaining experience outside the traditional royal environment. However, in 2002, he chose to step away from those pursuits and dedicate himself entirely to public service. From that moment onward, he focused his time and energy on representing the monarchy, supporting charities, and carrying out hundreds of official engagements each year. Rather than seeking personal recognition, he concentrated on fulfilling the responsibilities that came with his position. One of the greatest passions of Prince Edward's royal career has been preserving the remarkable legacy of his father, Prince Philip. He has devoted countless years to expanding and promoting the Duke of Edinburgh's Award, a respected international program that encourages young people to develop leadership skills, build resilience, stay physically active, and contribute to their communities. Having achieved the award's prestigious gold level himself in 1986, Edward understands its life-changing impact from personal experience. That connection has inspired him to help extend the program's reach across the world, allowing millions of young people to benefit from the same opportunities that once shaped his own character. As the British monarchy gradually became smaller and more focused, Edward's responsibilities naturally increased. Alongside his wife Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, he now represents King Charles III at numerous events throughout the United Kingdom and overseas. Their busy schedule includes supporting schools, universities, sporting organizations, arts institutions, military groups, and a wide range of charitable causes. Together, they have earned admiration for their reliability and their belief that the monarchy earns public respect through consistent service rather than constant media attention. A particularly meaningful moment came in 2023 when, on his 59th birthday, King Charles III granted Edward the title Duke of Edinburgh, fulfilling a wish long held by both Queen Elizabeth II and Prince Philip. Although the title was awarded only for Edward's lifetime and will not automatically pass to his son as part of the king's vision for a slimmer monarchy, the honor carried enormous symbolic importance. It recognized decades of faithful service and entrusted Edward with continuing one of his father's greatest legacies. Instead of seeking influence behind palace walls or competing for attention, Prince Edward has remained a steady and dependable supporter of the sovereign. His quiet leadership, deep sense of duty, and lifelong commitment to service have made him one of the royal family's most respected and trusted working royals. How did Camilla get into the picture? Did she have any right to the estate? Let's take a look at what Camilla seems to be plotting with her family. Hidden plans behind palace doors. While Queen Elizabeth was carefully thinking about the future of the monarchy, other people inside royal circles were quietly imagining a very different future for some of the family's valuable estates. Behind closed doors, new ideas were taking shape, ideas that focused less on tradition and more on turning these historic properties into modern commercial successes. Among those reportedly exploring these possibilities were Queen Camilla and her son, Tom Parker Bowles. According to reports, Tom believed that many of the estates held enormous business potential that had never been fully developed. Instead of allowing these grand properties to remain largely unchanged, he envisioned transforming them into destinations that would attract wealthy visitors from around the world. His ideas were said to be ambitious and far-reaching. Elegant country retreats could welcome guests seeking luxury and privacy. Historic buildings might be converted into boutique hotels that combined royal history with first-class comfort. Gourmet restaurants featuring the very best of British cuisine could become major attractions, while premium food and lifestyle brands inspired by the royal connection might reach customers across the globe. Exclusive culinary festivals, private dining experiences, and carefully curated cultural events were also reportedly part of the broader vision. The proposals did not stop there. Wellness centers offering luxury spa experiences, beautifully restored gardens open for special events, and heritage tours designed for high-paying visitors were all discussed as ways to create new streams of income, while presenting the projects as celebrations of Britain's rich history and traditions. Everything was designed to blend commercial success with royal prestige. Reports also suggested that Queen Camilla viewed many of these ideas favorably. She was said to support the creation of what she described as cultural legacy centers, places where visitors could experience British history, local food, traditional crafts, and environmental sustainability. Publicly, these projects would promote education, culture, and conservation. Behind the scenes, however, they were also expected to generate significant financial returns through carefully managed commercial activities. As interest in these proposals grew, quiet meetings reportedly took place away from public attention. Private receptions were organized, consultants were invited to share their expertise, and detailed proposals began to circulate among trusted advisors. Financial forecasts were prepared, ambitious property valuations were discussed, and conversations with potential international investors reportedly explored how these historic estates could become globally recognized destinations. For those involved, the future appeared full of exciting possibilities. There was growing confidence that these remarkable properties could strengthen their own influence while creating lasting commercial value. What they seemingly never imagined, however, was that Queen Elizabeth had already been thinking several moves ahead. Long before these ambitious plans gathered momentum, she had quietly made careful decisions that would shape the future of the estates in ways few people saw coming. Her preparations would soon leave many of those private ambitions facing an unexpected reality. What changed the whole story? When and how did it happen? Let's find out the moment that changed everything. Edward finally secures Queen's hidden legacy. In early 2026, everything changed. After years of speculation, private legal work, and quiet preparation, the long-awaited property transfers were finally completed. The paperwork was signed, the final approvals were granted, and Prince Edward officially became the legal owner of the secluded Cedar Estate, along with several other valuable royal properties. It was a landmark moment that quietly reshaped part of the royal family's future. The legal documents left almost no room for argument. Every clause had been carefully written years earlier, making the arrangements extremely difficult to challenge or change. More importantly, they reflected Queen Elizabeth II's personal wishes with remarkable precision. Her intentions had been preserved exactly as she wanted, ensuring that the estates would pass into the hands she had chosen long before her passing. Although the announcement was handled discreetly, news of the completed transfers quickly spread behind palace doors. According to reports from royal insiders, the atmosphere became noticeably tense after Queen Camilla and her son, Tom Parker Bowles, learned the full details. What had once been viewed by some as possible opportunities suddenly disappeared overnight. Sources claimed that emotions ran unusually high within the palace. Years of quiet expectations and carefully imagined possibilities appeared to vanish in an instant. any hopes that the estates might one day be opened for large commercial ventures or developed in different ways were effectively ended. The legal protections surrounding the properties were so strong that altering Queen Elizabeth's original instructions would be extraordinarily difficult, if not impossible. For those who had envisioned a different future for the estates, the news reportedly came as a bitter disappointment. The reality was now impossible to ignore. The decisions had already been made, the documents had taken full legal effect, and the chapter was closed. Adding to the difficult period, reports suggested that Tom Parker Bowles also lost a significant publishing opportunity around the same time. While there is no confirmed connection between the two events, the unfortunate timing made the overall situation feel even more discouraging. A period that might once have promised exciting new prospects instead became one marked by missed opportunities and changing fortunes. Throughout the entire process, Princess Anne remained one of the key figures working quietly behind the scenes. Known for her steady judgment and unwavering sense of duty, she carefully reviewed the necessary documents and consistently supported carrying out her late mother's wishes exactly as they had been written. Rather than seeking attention, Anne focused on protecting Queen Elizabeth's legacy with calm determination. Her quiet but resolute leadership helped ensure that the Queen's carefully planned decisions were fully respected, allowing her final wishes to stand exactly as she intended. How are Prince Edward's children being raised? Are they aware of the royal dramas in the palace? Let's delve into the details of how Edward's children were raised for a life beyond royal privileges. Edward's children chose freedom first. Although Prince Edward, Duke of Edinburgh, and Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, are senior members of the British royal family, they made a surprising decision that set their household apart from many other royal families. Together, they are the proud parents of two children, Lady Louise Windsor and James, Earl of Wessex, but instead of raising them in the full glare of royal life, they intentionally chose a quieter, more ordinary path. According to reports, despite their children being entitled to the titles of Prince and Princess as grandchildren of Queen Elizabeth II, Edward and Sophie declined to use those titles. Their goal was simple yet remarkable: to give Louise and James the freedom to experience a normal childhood and, when they became adults, decide for themselves how much they wanted to be involved in royal life. Their eldest child, Lady Louise Windsor, was born on November 8, 2003, under difficult circumstances. Arriving prematurely, she faced an immediate health challenge after being diagnosed with esotropia, a condition affecting the alignment of the eyes. The early months of her life were far from easy, and she eventually underwent surgery to correct the problem. Thankfully, the treatment was successful, allowing her to grow up healthy and active. Away from constant media attention, Louise enjoyed a peaceful upbringing that helped her build close relationships with her grandparents, especially Prince Philip. She inherited his deep love for carriage driving, a traditional sport that became one of her greatest passions. Over the years, she has competed in several respected competitions, proudly continuing a hobby that meant so much to her grandfather. At the same time, her parents ensured that education remained a top priority. She later enrolled at the University of St. Andrews, where she studied English and international relations, demonstrating that academic achievement mattered just as much as royal tradition. The couple welcomed their second child, James, on December 17, 2007. Like his sister, James has spent most of his childhood away from the relentless spotlight that often follows royal children. In 2023, when Prince Edward officially became the Duke of Edinburgh, James assumed the courtesy title of Earl of Wessex, further reflecting his place within the royal family. Even so, his daily life has remained refreshingly ordinary, centered on school, family, and only occasional appearances at important royal events. According to the report, Edward and Sophie have remained committed to raising their children with strong values rather than royal privilege. They have emphasized education, humility, independence, and service above titles or public attention. Instead of directing Louise and James toward full-time royal duties, they have deliberately left the choice in their own hands. This thoughtful parenting approach has created a rare balance between honoring royal heritage and protecting personal freedom, making Prince Edward's family one of the most distinctive and admired within the modern monarchy. How did Prince Edward celebrate the victory? What does the future have for him as he takes custody of the estate? Let's dive into the details of Prince Edward's calm response and the future ahead. Queen Elizabeth's final trusted choice. Prince Edward never marked the moment with grand celebrations or dramatic public statements. There were no lavish ceremonies, no triumphant speeches, and no attempts to draw attention to himself. Instead, he chose a far quieter path. Accompanied by Sophie and their children, Lady Louise and James, he spent time visiting the historic estates that had now come under his care. Together they wandered through the ancient gardens, admired the stately buildings, and reflected on the remarkable history woven into every corner of the land. Their visit was not about claiming ownership, but about understanding the enormous responsibility that had been placed upon their family. As they explored the estates, Louise and James were naturally curious. They asked thoughtful questions about why these places mattered so much and what role they would play in preserving them. Edward answered each question with patience, warmth, and quiet wisdom. Rather than speaking about privilege or prestige, he explained the importance of protecting history, honoring tradition, and ensuring that future generations would inherit these treasures in the same condition. It was a lesson about service rather than status. Those closest to Edward say this has always been his approach. He has never viewed these remarkable estates as symbols of personal success or valuable prizes to display. Instead, he sees himself as a caretaker entrusted with preserving Britain's heritage, supporting educational opportunities, and safeguarding places that tell the story of the monarchy. In many ways, his calm actions reflect the very qualities Queen Elizabeth admired throughout her life: humility, duty, and unwavering commitment. For Queen Camilla and her son Tom, the outcome reportedly brought an unmistakable end to their hopes, or using them for private interests came to a complete halt. Queen Elizabeth's carefully documented wishes had already settled the matter, ensuring that the estates would remain protected under Edward's careful stewardship. Yet this remarkable story reaches far beyond impressive houses, beautiful landscapes, or valuable land. At its heart, it is a story about legacy, careful planning, and the quiet strength that often shapes history behind closed doors. Queen Elizabeth spent decades preparing for the future, making thoughtful decisions that reflected a lifetime of experience. She quietly secured what she believed deserved lasting protection. Now that responsibility rests firmly on Prince Edward's shoulders. While the once secret estates have finally entered public conversation, their deeper purpose remains unchanged: to preserve the enduring spirit, traditions, and heritage of the monarchy. As the royal family continues to evolve, long-standing promises are quietly being fulfilled. And among the peaceful cedar trees of the Chiltern Hills, the future unfolds exactly as Queen Elizabeth had carefully planned many years before. So, what do you think about the reaction from Camilla's family? Do you really think Prince Edward would hold it against Camilla? We'd love to hear your opinions in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe.